you believe that we started recording right in the middle of 2020 with all of the COVID and lockdowns going on around us, unable to meet up? So like many a young gentleman, we turned to the internet for our entertainment. Tried to find a place where we could meet up and talk about the good, the bad, and that time that Stu saw a pelican on the canal. In order to facilitate our dreams of answering all of the big questions in film, and after a few attempts at recording via other methods to various levels of success, we found Zencastr, a super easy web-based one-stop shop for recording. Log in and you're ready to record in a matter of seconds. It doesn't take a tech genius to get high quality audio or video. And on top of that, the one time we have had an issue, the fact that the multi-layered backups are stored locally means it's easily fixed all in browser. There are plenty of tools you need when you start podcasting, so let Zencastr take that headache away as it offers a place to record, edit and distribute all from one website. Any lazy bones Jones can pick up and play and have studio quality audio or 4K video put out for the world to see when using Zencastr. Go to zencastr.com/pricing and use our code CAGEFIGHTING and you'll get 30% off your first month of any Zencastr paid plan. We want you to have the same easy experiences we do for all our podcasting and content needs. It's time to share your story. And now, hit the music.
Hello and welcome to Cage Fighting. Andy is not dead. He's just feeling slightly under the weather. So me, Matt Guy, I am here leading the range today.
Yeah, he is. So I suppose what reindeer am I then if you're leading?
What reindeer did you say?
Yeah, because if you're leading what is the second in command reindeer? You can never guess it.
I don't know, Blitzer. Is that one of them? Is that a Blitzkrieg, a heavy metal reindeer?
Could be. Stu gives very much Prancer vibes, though, let's be honest.
Yeah, that's true.
Tease me.
So, Andy is feeling a little under the weather today. So previously we were going to record this last week, and me and Stu had a heinous idea to do an episode because we were going to be Andy-less all together. And do an episode on Trashy Reality TV. So while Daddy was away, the boys would play. But then we didn't record the episode because the I'm a Celeb final was on the night we were going to record it. And then we never got round to an episode. So then we thought, oh, fuck it. Andy started to feel a bit better, so we'll still do the episode. So in one way, this will be Andy's personal hell. But he's slightly feeling under the weather. But to business, first and foremost. Stu, we were talking off air, sounds very showbiz, about weighted blankets because it's that cold time of year at the moment. I'm in a snuddy. Do you like to be pinned down when you sleep, Stu?
I like to be pinned down anyway. But no, I was saying this, that when in hotels, I thought there was something wrong with the gravity because I'd never experienced it before. But I do like something on my back. Like when the cats are there, I'll lie on my front and I'll try and tempt them over my shoulder. Try to coo them.
Wow, that was...
So they're lying on my back, I mean, especially Suki, but she's bigger. But to try and get her to lie on my back, because I like things on my back, it's nice.
And have you ever had a weighted blanket?
Probably only in hotels, I think. But I always feel like they're suffocating me. They're always too heavy and it's... I don't know. I like a bit of freedom when I'm in bed rather than being pinned down, as you say. Yeah.
See, well,
we know who's going to comment on this, don't we? So.
Well, it's really what you said how much you like pussy on your back when you're in sleeping, Stu. I like a weighted blanket, but I think it goes back to like I remember that episode of Lost when John Locke was saying about the baby. What was the baby's name in Lost? Charlie. His name Charlie?
Oh, Charlie.
No, Charlie was the bloke. What was his name? Ethan? Something like that. I don't know. Anyway, the baby wouldn't stop crying, and John Locke was like, "Oh, babies want to be like smothered," and then he like wraps him up tight, puts him in basically like straight jacket, and then the baby stops crying, and I think it goes back to that, like the need to want to be cuddled up nice and tight, and that's what I think a weighted blanket is. Anyway,
I think it's swaddled, not smothered. I think smothered is what you do when you want to finish one.
potato.
As well, Aaron or Aaron, however you want to pronounce it.
Aaron, that's right. Speaking of which, Sam finished Manifest the other day.
Yes.
What a load of shite that was. And
How did she feel about the ending, though?
she was very much like yeah, it wasn't like tears at the end of what a journey she's been on or anything like that. Are you ever going to watch it, Andy? Do you mind?
No, yeah, carry on.
It's just, they just go back to the start, don't they, Stu?
Maybe-ish. For some of them, they go back to the start. And the 5 years hadn't happened. The others, it did. So
It's not even as good as the bad ending of Lost, then.
it's a bit like the Lost game, if you ever played that.
Yes, I did play that.
Yeah.
Because it was an easy 1,000 game score. That's because you just had to complete the game. That was
Is it Lost via Darkness?
Yeah, something along those lines. Right. We diverge. That's not the word I want to use. What's the word when you go off track? I don't know. Anyway, we could have talked Trashy Reality TV, but first and foremost, the reason why we held this podcast off is because the I'm a Celeb final was on. Now, Stu, you were very invested in this because that
As always.
odious little weasel Farage was in the final, and he came third. And was it Tony Bellew was second? I think he was.
Yeah.
And then someone from Made in Chelsea, is it, or the other one?
Yeah.
Essex won it. Is I'm a Celeb still? Is it still the same format? Eating kangaroos' arses and that, and making celebrities uncomfortable and crawling through things with snakes. Is it still the same tried and tested formula?
Yeah, but it's not just an English thing. It's an industry, that show, because there's all different ones, different countries all go to the same place. So it's not just ITV send these people to the middle of Australia and build this temporary hut and stuff. It's a permanent fixture there, which I didn't realise until a couple of years ago. Yeah, exactly the same as it has been for the last 20 years. You know exactly what you're getting. The music's exactly the same. Them two are the same. It's like a comfy build-up to Christmas. That's what I see it as. People have... Obviously, there's been people watching it now who weren't even born when it started. But you know what you're going to get. If you're expecting something different, then you're not going to get it. So I don't see what the problem is with that. It's like, it is what it is, and it owns what it is, and there's still 7 million people watching it. So I don't think it's going anywhere very fast.
An insane amount of people, isn't it? Considering like the audiences that watch, I don't know. So me and Andy, watch a lot of wrestling, and the wrestling audiences, like less than a quarter of that watch some wrestling shows, and this is one like TV show in a small populated country in comparison to some of the bigger countries in the world. So yeah, that's insane. One question on my lips. Obviously, it's all about making the celebrities feel uncomfortable. Andy, as hipster as you can be, I'm sure you've tried a few delicacies in your lifetime. Is there anything, you're on I'm a Celebrity, you want to win, you're going to want to win the money and everything else. Is there anything you wouldn't eat on I'm a Celebrity?
I think it's the stuff that's going to stink, I think, would be the stuff that would probably really turn my stomach. If there's no smell to it, I reckon I could handle most things. But you see somewhere that I've seen before where they've eaten what I assume is supposed to be an egg, and it looks kind of snotty, and you see their reaction is, they're literally vomiting over it. Yeah, I think anything with a smell, I think would absolutely finish me off. I just don't think I could get over the smell, let alone put that in my mouth. That's just never going to happen.
That's what she said. Well, like the creepy crawly side of it, Stu, does that bother you? Are you like, if you've had your hands over a snake or two in your life, I'm sure. Would that kind of it bother you? Would you bother? Would you be, if you had your head in a box with loads of scorpions, would you be freaking out?
No, none of that would even remotely bother me. I mean, the amount of times I get stung by just flowers and things, just doing gardens, it's like I'm gonna get scratched up at some point. Something's gonna get me. So if it's an insect or it's a lizard or something, then so be it. They're not gonna put you in something where it's gonna seriously hurt you. you might be a bit uncomfortable, but it's a bit of a laugh, eh? So I wouldn't be bothered by anything like that, being trapped underground or any of that stuff. I'd enjoy it, but the eating one is where the problem starts, because as we all know, I don't eat anything anyway.
Well, speaking of buried underground, a slight tangent here. Did you see that show about Dynamo who was on the other day? Like Dynamo is dead or something like that. Like,
Yeah.
he's rebranded himself and he's now just his like Christian name. And he's no longer going by the name of Dynamo, and he did a Buried Alive kind of special. I don't know if any of you saw. If anybody saw it, that's listening to this, give us the 411 on the Twitter or something, because like with those kind of shows, you know, there's no jeopardy. No one's ever going to die. So we always wonder like why people, why they're so obsessed. Why we're so obsessed with them, because no one's ever going to actually die. There's no risk of this being a snuff film.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think it's actually like a thing for him to like change his identity almost.
Mm. Well, I remember there was the one Darren Brown episode where he got someone to basically gamble his life savings. They walked into a casino, I think in Romania or somewhere Eastern European. And it was literally a case of put all your money on whatever I tell you to on the roulette wheel. And it came up the one next to the one that he told him to put it on. So like, there was some jeopardy to that, but you are right. Generally speaking, there's zero jeopardy to any of that stuff.
I remember one of those Darren Brown ones being dead interested. It was the one about some guy was a massive racist or something, and he like turned him around to like basically jump in front of a bullet or something for like a Hispanic guy or something like that. I can't remember what it was. Think about those, right? Obviously, we're all like not naive enough to think that everything that you see is as it appears, but if you read any of Darren Brown's books, it literally says on like the first page, I am not magic. It's all about illusion. It's all about this. It's all about that. So even like watching the TV shows, you just like, I'm in on the joke almost. Like he could do with slightly a bit more mystery about Darren Brown, I think. Have you ever been to one of those shows, Stu? Any of those like?
No, I mean I've been to like when you go to weddings and stag do's and you've got like illusionists and things there. And I don't understand it anyway. I could be fooled by anything. So but I enjoy that stuff because, like you said, you know it's not real. But it's if they've got the talent, I suppose it is. If they've got the talent to do it and to pull it off properly, then great. As everything else, you've got to admire the craft.
Fair. Well, this podcast was with you in mind, Stu. So the first question will go to you. Why do you enjoy trashy reality television?
It's brainless. You haven't got to, especially if you're stressed or you're in some kind of, or you're a little bit tired but you don't want to go to bed. Say it's like 7 o'clock and you think, well, if you go to bed now, you're going to wake up too early or something like that. If you want a couple of hours to kill, and you don't want to watch something like a rerun like Dan was talking about on the Fancast the other day about how he just watches like the 24/7 channels of Breaking Bad on the old dodgy sources. And you think, well, that's a weird thing to do, especially for that show, but still. I'd rather watch something that's got nothing to it whatsoever, like Love Island or I'm a Celeb. And just that hour and a half, you know what you're going to get. You ain't got to pay attention. You can look on your phone. You can do other things. And it's just relax more than anything else. Like, if I like high drama and things like that, I've said before about phone off time and you put it somewhere out of reach so you don't get distracted. It doesn't matter with that stuff. So when you're watching for that stuff, for me, is, oh, well, let's just do this for an hour or so. Like this week, like last week and the week before, I watched I'm a Celeb, then I watched a Christmas film. That was the order of doing things. And it worked because a lot of the Christmas films I've obviously seen before, so it doesn't really matter. But for the newer ones, I'd watch that, get all the day's nonsense out of the way on the old phones and whatever else is happening, and then watch a film. So then I'm cleansed and ready and focused to do something else.
And from your point of view, have you ever been really wrapped up in one of the more broader reality TV shows where you've really like hunkered down on it, and it's must-watch TV for you?
Probably the second season, I think, of Big Brother. I remember watching that pretty much. It was the second season, the one where it was the first E4 one, and you could watch it pretty much 24 hours a day if you wanted to.
That was the third, I think, with Jade and Kat.
Right. It might have been the third. But yeah, second, third seasons of Big Brother. I did really get into it, but then I dropped off pretty much immediately after that when it came to that type of broad reality TV. So when you look at your I'm a Celebrities, I think I've watched one season of that when I still lived at home with my mom. She watched it and it was just on in the background, so I watched it vicariously, I suppose. But yeah, I think the original Big Brothers I did quite enjoy because they were obviously quite new at that time. It was something different, and there was that social experiment aspect to it, which pretty much was quickly dropped because they found it was a way to become a celebrity, didn't they? So they moved away from having normal people together, and it was the weirdest fuckers you could find to bring in the house, was generally the route they went down.
Yeah, you're right. Well, that leads me on to my next question, really. I'll mix things up a bit. When you think of reality TV, is Big Brother the GOAT, the greatest of all time? I think in this country, I think it might be when you think of reality TV. But how big an impact, Andy, do you think Big Brother is, and kind of will be on popular culture and reality TV?
It's unquestionably the reality TV show, at least in the UK, probably worldwide, to be honest. Every country has had their own version of Big Brother, and it was a staple of viewing for absolutely everybody, from from highbrow to lowbrow. I feel like every newspaper was talking about it, whether it was a broadsheet, whether it was your red top rags. It was all consuming for a good few years, and it has then gone on to spawn various versions of reality TV with their own twist, but they're all pretty much Big Brother, but in a jungle, Big Brother, but with a singing competition or something. So they are sort of, it is the granddaddy. It's the one that started the ball rolling on everything, I think.
Yeah, I remember I watched from series 2 onwards, and I had this great routine, when me and my brother would go to my dad's flat and we'd watch Big Brother, then we'd watch when Graham Norton was on a Friday night.
No, Graham Norton.
Yeah, and it was class as well. It was when it got really diluted, it was every night of the week. This was Channel 4 Graham Norton. It was dead rude, and it was and then I think even Euro Trash was probably on after that. It was the fucking peak Friday night viewing for what was I was 12 or 13 or something like that. Well, yeah, Big Brother Series 2. I think, was that Nasty Nick and that, Stu? Was that?
That was the first one.
So Craig was the one who won 2, wasn't it?
No, Craig won the first one with Nasty.
Oh.
Craig and 2 was won by...
Is that Brian?
Brian won 2. Kate won 3.
Maybe I did watch 1 then.
Cameron won 4.
Don't know who Cameron is.
Nadia 5.
But, yeah, I mean... That was when it was still in the remit of being a social experiment side, and they made a big song and dance about people missing home and missing the football results and everything else. But I felt as the series went on, there was less and less about that, and it more just became about your freakish personalities. But where does Big Brother rank for you, Stu, in terms of the annals of reality TV?
Yeah, like what Andy said, especially here. It wasn't an English show as well. It was Endemol. I think it's Dutch.
Yeah, Dutch, yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So it's not English. The American one's still going as well. The American one's very different. It's almost like Big Brother in name only. They do, it's very different. Obviously I've watched some of them, especially when it started. And I think the fourth one, when they had that weird thing where it went to South Africa for a bit, they sent one of Cameron, the winner, to South Africa because he was so boring and had a switch up with one of the contestants from that show. That was
the guy that lived in the Orkneys.
Yeah.
Yes, I remember it now. Yeah.
So you had that, and then the fifth one with Nadia and the fight and everything that was major news. I think that was when it peaked. After that, it did obviously die down like everything else does, but there is nothing else that had that impact here. Obviously, there's a lot of American stuff from the early 90s. We never had that. we had Noel's house party. And that's not really reality. But it was the first time people have been put in a house like that, I think. Or done properly on a terrestrial, not a cable channel or something like that. Doing it on mainstream Channel 4 prime time as a social experiment as it started off as. Nothing will ever come back like that. It's like Andy said, everyone's in on the joke. Everyone knows now. Back then they didn't, and even in year 5 they kind of didn't either, to some extent. But it was a moment in time where it was so brand new. I mean, I was on holiday in Claret Bay that year, the first year. And I used to go back from, so what was that, 2000? So it would have been 16. And I'd go back and watch it at 9 o'clock and then go back to the club on the caravan site. I was that invested in it. So I mean, I would go back to the caravan, watch it on my own, and then at 10 o'clock go back around the club for the last day and a half. But it was brand new. Everyone talked about it. It was like Andy said, it was in every paper. It was on everyone talked about it because it was new. No one can say that it was, it's just one of them, because it was the one. It was the show that everyone talked about for years. So it has to be the GOAT, surely.
When it like trailed off and then it went to Channel 5, did it? And then it was, now what's it on now? ITV4 or 2?
ITV2, yeah.
Is that any good now?
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the last one more than probably the 7 or 8 before it. Because when it went away, I was genuinely, I mean, were we doing this at the time when it went away? Because I was genuinely sad when it went away, because I've watched every episode of every series, celebrities as well.
2018 is when it went. I'm just looking at the Wikipedia page. 2018, so pre ourselves.
I've mentioned it on Fancast then, because I know I definitely talked about it. Everyone took the piss out of me, predictably, and probably deservedly so. But I genuinely love that show, and I still do. And when it came back, when they said, it's coming back, I mean, I did put my tape in for 3 when I was old enough. Obviously, didn't get on. But I love it. And the fact that it still get, for ITV2 to pick it up and for it to still get a couple of million, is pretty impressive. 23 years later.
Well, it's funny because in another life, I do a podcast about music and the memories it invokes. It's something I'll probably end up doing in a few years' time. Well, like, even just thinking about the music of Big Brother takes me back. Like, it's such an iconic theme music. That, like, intense rave kind of dance music that came along with it. And then the eye, like, logo and everything about Big Brother was just... It felt just so different and so weird to watch, and you're sad that it went the way that it did. But I guess, like all good things, there must come to an end, I suppose. But yeah, I think all 3 for 3. I think Big Brother probably is the GOAT of reality TV, as far as at least in the British sphere. If any of our listeners from on the continent have another show that they think eclipses Big Brother, then let us know. But it leads us on to the smuttier side of life. Now, shows like Love Island, I think, and then stuff that's been on Netflix, like Too Hot to Handle and other things like that, have like depicted sex more and more as time's gone on. But in 2023, does sex have its place in reality TV? Like, is it, we're in a very different world than we were when Big Brother started, but especially those that are on your terrestrial town channels, does sex have a place in reality TV, Stu? Is it something that, like, is still sacred ground?
I mean, we've had... It kind of goes back to the episode 69 again, the fact that this stuff happened in our memory, and now, like, things where Kinga was fucking herself with a wine bottle on Big Brother, and they obviously didn't show... They showed putting the bottle towards herself. Obviously, they didn't show it, but that was not edited out. That was talked about and mentioned that she did that, and you had Makosi thinking that she was pregnant.
I remember that. I was just thinking that
because who was that? It was Anthony, the winner, the eventual winner, when he got a bit too hot in the hot tub. So things like that were funny back then, but if that happened now, there'd be outrage, and I don't know why it's gone that way. when everything else is like, oh, well, you pull someone's arm off, it'll be fine. But it doesn't go back to that. And I didn't watch Love Island when it first came out. I thought it was a bit shit. But in my desperation for something to cling on to, not Kinga, when there was no Big Brother for them few years, and Gold was like, oh, you Love Island, it's great, you get your water bottles. And I did get into it quite a lot for a few years. And it is just titillation, it is exploiting everyone. But that's the point. If they know that they're getting exploited, they know they are, and they know what can happen to them, and they know people are using their emotions to entertain us all, which the morals of that is here or there. You either do or you don't, but I'd like to see them just do it. Just go full out. And then just
Arses in it, the Room style.
Yeah. Why not? I mean, we have seen, like, again, there's been stuff like under the covers, and it's got in night vision and things like that they won't show. But don't edit it out. Just, it's a part of life. I don't know why so many people are so uppity about it.
I remember when Jimmy Carr made a joke about that wine bottle thing in Big Brother, and he just described it, and then he went, red wine with fish. No, something along those lines. And he proper tickled me. Andy, what about you in this debate? You know, especially in your terrestrial TV, young Timmy might stay awake a little later with his parents while the TV's on. Does sex have a place in reality TV in 2023?
I mean, in some respects, yes, because like Stu said, it's a normal human reaction between grown adults. So, like, I don't see what the issue is with maybe not showing it, because obviously that then veers into pornography, which is something completely different. But post-Watershed, I don't really feel like, you know, the gloves should still be on at that point. You should be able to do pretty much whatever you can within the realms of the law on it. So I don't really see the big issue, especially when you do have shows on Channel 4, like you've got Naked Attraction. There was the one where they went into a box and fucked and then came out and discussed.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about
I
it.
can't remember what it was called. I never watched it, but I've heard about it. So, like, sex isn't quite the taboo it should be for the vast majority of people. But there are still the type of people who will write into Ofcom. They're the ones who will probably get offended by it, and they will be the ones invariably who will kick up a fuss about it, because there's still some people who see it as, you know, a little bit too unconservative and will fight the corner of it. But personally, I don't see an issue with it, because it's a conversation to be had anyway, isn't it? Let's be honest. And there's enough TV and whatever out there to have that discussion around it. But on a mainstream, you know, if you're doing it pre-Watershed, then that's completely different. Post-Watershed, I don't have an issue with it.
Back when this was a me and Stu pod, I was going to ask this question. I'm going to have to ask it anyway now. But Andy, feel free not to answer. Stu, Big Brother's in for a long time, and you're the kind of personality who's going to stay in it a while. But
That's debatable.
You know, how do you get away with having a wank in the Big Brother house, Stu?
There's no camera in the toilet, is there? That's the only thing. Because people have talked about this before. It's the only way. Oh, well, I think there is, just in case that you don't go and like try and kill yourself or whatever. So you are going to be monitored, but I think that there is a clause that they can't show anything that happens in the toilet. I think you got to accept that there's going to be people in the gantry at least watching you, which is what it is. Good enough for Colin Moore, good enough for me. Not a problem with it.
Well, it's going to be, you'd end up being like that. The start of Rocky V, where he's in the shower after he's beaten Ivan Drago, and his hand on the wall, and just like tired and just trying to get it out of the way as quickly as you can.
You know what? Someone about hand on the wall. Why not? Why the fuck not? I went to West Ham with it. I've had quite a few Guinness, so it's all coming out. It doesn't matter. When I was when the old flowers were blossoming, when I was about 12, 13, something like that. I used to. This is it is kind of Louise levels. I used to get when this is like pre-phone, so you didn't have literally at your fingertips. So I'm like, they used to at the remember the old K's catalogue, and we used to have you just flick to the lingerie section when they had when the new one came out. I'd conveniently take the old one away so they wouldn't realise. We get the lingerie section, and there was a bit of carpet in the toilet at my nan's house where you could lift it up, and there was a put it underneath for a bit of just in case. But I was not that tall enough, so at the time I was okay. I could lie down in the toilet rather than standing up. So you got these case catalogue pictures of lingerie. Can't remember who it was. Underneath, it was carpeted toilet as well. This is how far back we're going.
Yeah.
So I'm not mental. I'm not lying on wood. But wood was involved, obviously. But yeah, that was. I don't think that would be possible now. I don't think it's. You crank yourself round the bend.
Dear, oh,
I might have to try to let people know tomorrow.
I remember listening to, I used to listen to Kerrang Radio before I went to bed, and I can't remember what Tim Shaw's Asylum was the name of the show. And it was kind of an anything goes, like, they'd prank call people, they'd occasionally play a bit of music, but not a lot. But I remember he came out with a stat once, and it can't be, he said, basically, if you had 7 hours sleep and then had a wank, you'd immediately lose 20 minutes of the energy from the 7 hours sleep that you had. Which is just the most, I don't know, I was like, surely that's not right, because I'd never be awake. Well, there we go. Anyway, let's take let's take this back to a lighter, more family-friendly note, shall we? What is your favourite family-friendly reality TV show, Andy?
Oh, that's a good question. It depends on how far we go with, like, reality TV. So, I mean, would you consider something like Taskmaster, for example? Because obviously that spent a lot of time with people in their days and doing that. So do we go with that? Because I like an element of quiz to a reality TV. So I quite enjoyed The Traitors when that was on. Yeah, it's a Canadian version, and I've just started the British one. And actually, I'm quite enjoying that. I think that's a really good show, because it's got more than just seeing people sat around drinking and arguing. There's a bit more to it. They're still drinking and arguing, but it's also got that other element to it.
I remember when Traitors came out, it was like after like an England game or something was the first episode, or there was a big event on, and then Traitors came. Was it the World Cup
Last year?
And then Traitors came on, and I think everybody thought it was going to be shit. Like the dark temptress that is what the fuck's her name?
Wink.
Bloody Winkleman.
Winkleman. Oh, I love a bit of Winkleman. But with her being assigned to it, ramped up the shit factor, I think, a bit as well. But it actually, like, people really loved it in the end. Traitors, and it, like, yeah, it became like a bit of a dark horse program that, like, I think people really enjoyed, but didn't know why at first. But yeah, that's a great program, to be fair. What about you, Stu? When you think of it like a family-friendly reality TV show, what do you think of?
I mean, I've got the obvious one, but I've never seen an episode of Traitors, and I did see she was there looking like a dark temptress, almost deliberately, in like a castle, with all dark lighting and stuff, teasing season 2 of it, but that's in January, not before Christmas this year. What is it? I've got no. I genuinely have no idea what it is.
So they have
described it's like a game of Atmosphere, the board game, in real life.
Basically.
Oh, well,
There's a dozen people, and the host of it. So in the UK's version, Claudia will pick 3 people to be the traitor, and no one will know who the traitors are apart from the traitors themselves. Every night they get to kill off one of the other contestants, and at the end of each day, the remaining contestants have to guess who the traitor is. And if you get rid of a traitor, then you win. If you don't, and then it whistles its way down, so there's just 2 people left, and they have to say whether or not they're both traitors, and then they might split the money. If there's one traitor left and the other one isn't, then they don't split it. It's that sort of thing. But then they get given tasks and other stuff throughout the day to try and wheedle out who the traitors are in the show.
Sounds so it'd be like Atmosphere crossed with Cluedo.
Yeah.
But like I remember, like I didn't watch all of it, but yeah, there were the fringes of people in society, but it wasn't a freak show like either. It was like, yeah, people on the fringes of like certain groups and everything else, but it wasn't like it wasn't an E4 show, if you catch it. Like it was a bit more on the more balanced side of things. When you say the greatest, I presume you mean Bake Off, Stu?
Yeah, obviously.
I tell you what, I really enjoyed though back in. Sorry, go on, Stu.
But I only watched it once Noel took over. That was the reason I did, because I can't stand them two. No, I can't Mel more than Sue. Sue's okay. Just no. Rubs it with the wrong way. I don't know why. She's probably a lovely woman. Just no. Just don't get on with it. But obviously I was aware of Mary Berry and all that stuff. But so when it went to Channel 4, I've watched all of them since then. I don't know why I love it, because I don't really care about cakes anyway. I don't care about cooking food like that. But it's addictive.
It is.
and everyone watches it. And the fact that it took over the world as well as the Great British Baking Show, as it's now known worldwide. Mental.
Yeah, I don't know how big the impact of Bake Off is, but now you've got like so many programs like Is It Cake and all these. I don't know if it's a direct impact because of Bake Off or not. I think there's probably an argument to be said there, but Christ, there's so many of them on Netflix, like American shit TV shows like that.
Well, you had the one on Channel 5 as well, the Great British Model Railway with James Richardson, where you had model railway enthusiasts making their own tracks and everything.
They've got the Spelling Bee one as well, and like there's all sorts now. They have that format that's kind of
there's a woodwork one as well. That's starting soon, if it's not already.
And you've got Lego Masters as well, so like they're sort of taking that procedural to the next generation. Obviously, that aims very much at a younger audience. So, like, yeah, that format has been fucking well and truly, brilliant.
See, I like, but less popular, but I think it's more of like a social or like a timeline thing for me. But I always remember like coming back from school and there being programs like Come Dine With Me, not so much Four in a Bed because that's newer, but then you had Coach Trip as well, which was really awful. Like it was terrible TV, but at the same time it was brilliant. At the same time, it was like that mind-numbingly tepid kind of TV viewing that you could watch your dinner, you could eat it, you could watch it while you were having your tea because you're not going to miss anything by looking down at your plate. And it's that kind of like small digestible TV shows. Like we should do another episode on game shows, to be fair, but like Deal or No Deal fell into that category for me. I'd come back from come back from school, Deal or No Deal will be on. I remember when 9/11 happened and I was furious that Deal or No Deal wasn't on. I was like, where's my Noel? But yeah, it was like Coach Trip and those kind of programs. Those real like Channel 4 to 6 p.m. before The Simpsons comes on kind of TV. That was the golden age for me of like that crap reality TV show. Definitely. Moving into the more kind of controversial and exploitative side of the world, do you think we'll ever see the daytime agony aunt show again? Think Jeremy Kyle, Jerry Springer, slightly watered down stuff like Trisha, and remember Trisha, and shows like that. Do you think we ever get examples of those kind of things again, Andy?
Part of me thinks yes, because it was a ratings winner for those networks who put them on, and let's be honest, that's the bottom line. I think for any companies that they just want the ratings regardless of how they achieve it. But if it comes back, like there has to be safeguarding involved in it. Like you can't just let these people go on to national TV and in some cases destroy another human being's life just for televisual excellence. Like it's not acceptable, and it's kind of wild that it ever was. But the amount of people who killed themselves following appearances on Jeremy Kyle is absolutely heartbreaking. And there was never that support there to help these people afterwards. When that should be paramount, you'd think. If you're going to be putting someone through, psychologically be putting them through the mill, you need to have the support network there on the other side when you come out of it, in order to make sure that you can put your life back together. Because some of these shows, they really were quite damaging to people, and it's awful. I mean, Jerry Springer's a bit different because, as far as I'm aware, that was pretty much all scripted nonsense anyway. So I'm kind of surprised that doesn't still go on. But I know the British ones, they did tend to have true stories that just went to the absolute extremes. So I wouldn't be surprised to see it back, but there definitely needs to be an improvement on the production side of things.
It was like a bloodlust though as well at the same time. I remember I went to go see it be filmed twice, Jeremy Kyle, right? And I fished out the photo of when I'm in the crowd. I don't know if I've told this story on the podcast or not, but basically we got there and they were like, oh, we're doing a reunion episode today. And literally you could hear everybody go, and then they were like, only joking, it's lie detector, and everyone went, yay. And so they sat they sat us down, and then they asked my girlfriend at the time to move so they could put a family member next to me, like over the person that's getting the lie detector result. And of course, like, I'm really dead stoic the whole way through, and I'm looking, I'm going, yeah, like, because I'm on camera the whole fucking time. And every time they cut to the family member. Anyway, when the lie detector came back and the results were that they'd lied, I lost my cool. Completely, like, lost my shit. I was literally like, I just went shit like that. But it was like a bloodlust. Like, you wanted to see heartbreak on those shows. You wanted it to be. You wanted them to get caught. You wanted there to be drama. And it's like this little microcosm of wanting to see people's pain in these TV shows. I don't know if it's the ultimate, like, they say comparison is the thief of joy, but you should always compare, like, if you're going to do that, at least compare people whose life is worse than your own, so it makes you feel better. And I don't know if that was why we enjoy stuff like Jeremy Kyle. I don't know. What say you, Stu?
People like looking at a car crash. It's nature, eh? In the end of the day, people like you go back, like gladiators and stuff like that. People just like watching people being fucked up. I don't know what it is. It's obviously not normal, but it is normal. And it's like throughout the whole of human history, people have liked watching other people suffer. It's just the way of the world. But things like the good, when there were like the funny ones and the ones where no one got hurt, like you had like Ricky Lake and stuff like that it was like that, and that was quite nice. But the Bloodlust episodes were the best ones, and they just were. And I did feel sorry for the ones who did get dragged into things where they shouldn't have done. But when you had people on there who were, they were all awful, and it didn't matter because they were all terrible people, I couldn't care less. They were getting paid $2,000 each, and they were getting piled with booze. Yet there should have been stuff afterwards. And if it ever did come back, that would have to happen just to keep an eye on them afterwards. But if you're in such a bad place anyway, and you're going to go on TV and humiliate yourselves for money, then so be it. No problem whatsoever.
What did Graham do, who got dragged out all the time? Wasn't he there? Wasn't he meant to be the psychological support?
Oh, yeah. He was like not our Graham from Blind Date either, which would have been a nice crossover. Yeah, I don't know what he was for. If he even was like a trained professional or just generally Kyle's mate.
Well, speaking of Cilla Black, it's bizarre that in 2023 she's come back into the meme sphere because everything is just her singing karaoke to some song.
She can't sing.
Or the clip of her saying "surprise, surprise" at the end of like some kind of meme or something like that, which is just wild. A bonus question on kind of these reality TV shows: where do you lie and now you mention kind of scripted shows, Andy? You know, you've got The Only Way is Essex and Made in Chelsea and stuff like that. Sam watches like Made in Chelsea quite religiously, and it even says, whilst this is real, it is dramatised to add sprinkles or some shit like that. When do you cross the line between it just being a dramatic show that's not scripted or vice versa? Is there any place for it, do you think?
Not for me. I genuinely don't get the point of it. The first big one that I remember being a thing was it called The Hills? It was an American one that was on MTV, because I remember my ex used to watch it with her sister. And I just used to sit there dumbfounded at how fucking shit it was, because it was quite obvious that it was scripted, just that, loosely scripted. And I don't see the point in it, because either give me a scripted show or give me a real show. This sort of, halfway between the two doesn't really work, and I don't understand the fascination with it, because what are you getting het up about? You're not getting het up because it's not a real situation, because it's scripted. So why are you supposed to be angry or happy or whatever? I don't understand how it elicits any sort of reaction when you know it's bullshit with idiots. That's my issue with it.
But some normal people would say that exact same thing about wrestling.
Fuck you, Stu, because I literally was just about, it was on the tip of my tongue, and I was only being a polite host, that I was letting you finish your sentence, because I was just about to say, anytime I ever criticise anything like this, Sam goes, well, wrestling's scripted.
Yeah, everything he just said.
You little rotter.
It's things like Made in Chelsea and stuff like that is wrestling for women. That's what it is.
Okay, I can't really argue against that, to be honest. You fucking stitched it up there, you can.
Game, set and match, Stu, you prick. Clip that for your show.
Yeah, I don't like them though. I don't, for that reason, and it's like, well, it's not reality, is it? It's like shit actors. What is it? It's not. It's clearly not real. So it's a drama.
But it's funny though, because the guy that won I'm a Celeb, like Sam really likes him, and she fancies the other one, Pete something or another.
Oh, he's a friend.
His podcast with. But they've come out of that sphere into real life and do real life podcasts. And then he did a thing about an ADHD diagnosis, didn't he? And he's come out of the sphere of this fake reality show into being a reality star of his own accord. So it's weird.
Yeah.
See, this is why I don't watch stuff like I'm a Celebrity or any celebrity version of whatever reality bollocks. Is because they're all these reality TV celebrities now just in reality TV shows. It feels a bit too Inception at this point for me. That's what I really struggle with, that kind of stuff.
Someone made an excellent point to me about this. Maybe the annual thing of, I don't know anyone and I'm a celeb. But then you actually look at it and you look, well, Tony Bellew, we know him because of boxing, obviously. Sam Thompson, I have no idea who he was. I don't watch that stuff. So, but for the people who do watch that stuff, they know him, but they wouldn't know Tony Bellew.
Yeah.
And you go through all the list. The woman who was on MasterChef, no idea who that is. But people who watch MasterChef know who she is, but they might not know who Sam is. So it just draws in people from all different spheres, and that's why you probably get 7 million people watching it every year, because
7 million is an insane amount of people watching. So the highest rated wrestling TV show at the moment is WWE SmackDown, has about 2.2 million according to the Nielsen ratings, which is flawed in itself. But that's like at least 3 times more people in the UK are watching that than the biggest wrestling company's not flagship show but highest watched show.
It is America with like several times more million people than ourselves.
It is only 3 weeks of the year, though. I think that's why it worked.
Yeah,
because if it was on every week, or it was on like for 3 months and then it was off for 2 and then back for 3, it'd obviously go down to like pittance. But to only be on for 3 weeks of a year just before Christmas, and it's turned into this whole build-up thing, and it just works for where it is.
It's become an event TV because of Christmas, so as it becomes part of a Christmas tradition, doesn't it?
Even so, though, if you look at the last season of Big Brother, there was 2.77 million average viewership. And that was on ITV2, for crying out loud.
That's insane as well.
It is. Just bonkers. And that's higher than it was at any point when it was on Channel 5.
we're going to turn the tables around. You said what you don't like, both of you, what you do like. Well, pitch a reality TV show to me as ridiculous or as boring as you like. But pitch a TV show, reality TV show, Stu.
I mean, I think this has been done, but it was kind of either buried on Channel 5 or something, but a mixture of where you put people, a bit like a cross between that Survivor, which was briefly here, but it never really took off, but it's massive in America, especially being trailed in the NFL every week. So people who actually have to go and live somewhere on an island, no crew, no camera crew, they have to film everything themselves. But it's singles. So you got Love, it literally is a Love Island.
Yeah.
It's something that has been done in a little bit before, but never properly. Obviously, you'd have to have like guards and people, just in case, and people in case it all kicks off, which it inevitably would do. But have it as automated as possible. So cameras on motion trackers, cameras in the ceiling and everything like that. So you've got no actual camera crew or any visible crew at all, and just leave them to it. So almost a bit like I'm a Celeb. If they can't get their own food, then you'll do like a drop or something of rice and beans or whatever, just to keep them alive. But they can go and hunt boar, or they can go and fish and stuff like this. So do a proper survival show with a bit of rumpy pumpy as well.
Well, it's funny that because all I want now that we've had Squid Games with those like explosive pouches on their stomachs, I just want to see Battle Royale, but obviously nobody dies, but they get access to basically, they have the island. We've had the TV show like Fortnite, like everything else, with all these games where the zone gets smaller and smaller, and we can just have that as a show. I know it's the precursor to Running Man. Like, yeah, it's fine. I want to see it now at this point.
You want to see Running Man?
Yeah, basically. Why not? But I don't think I bet someone's in production with a show like that right now. Because why wouldn't you? It seems like the time's right. I think the appetite is there for stuff like that. But yeah, I'd like to see a proper Battle Royale show, I think. Just nobody dies if they must. What about you, Adam? What do you want to see?
I was thinking about this. I can't remember if this is actually being done. I remember there was one show where they tricked people into thinking they were going to be an astronaut. And I quite like the idea of actually astronaut training, actual properly putting people through the paces and seeing like the level that those people have to attain in order to become an astronaut. Because like it sounds so cool that, oh, I'd like to be an astronaut when I grow up. It's like it's the kind of thing a kid would say. Well, you don't actually realise that in order to be an astronaut, you have to have a PhD. You have to be like peak human fitness and stuff like that. You can't just be any old chud off the street. And I think it'd be a really cool idea to put people through proper astronaut training for, a good few months and see the progress and see how many people can actually make it through in what would be one of the most competitive fields in the world. Because it is only going to be the best of the best who ever actually go up into space. So I'd be quite interested in seeing that.
Yeah, I think that's
cool.
A good shout, to be fair.
It was called Space Cadets, and it was hosted by Johnny Vaughan in 2005.
Johnny Vaughan?
Yeah. I remember it. I watched it. It was Endemol as well. Shock horror.
You know what I really used to like? Again, it was that Friday or Saturday night, like going around to my dad's TV view. Remember Faking It? That was class. Do you ever watch Faking It, Andy?
No, I don't think.
Basically, they basically had one person who might be a plumber, and he had to basically be trained overnight to be a DJ, and had to convince other people that was their profession. And like, it was just a TV show about that, like people faking what they did and see if they could fool other people to thinking they were something completely different to what they were. It just it just works. I don't know, there was something fun about it.
So that film, have you seen that documentary film Kaiser?
No.
Oh, it's amazing. It's this guy who basically blagged the fact that he was a professional footballer in Brazil for 10 years and never kicked a ball. Like every time he come close or he was on the bench, he miraculously got injured or he was ill. And he was like, he had such a gift of the gab that he got friends with the stars and everything. Never kicked a ball. So it's based on a book of the same name, I think.
When did Scott Carson go to Brazil? Because I want to know. That's incredible. Like, how did he keep getting signed? Like,
Exactly. This is what I mean.
the old Bret Hart 20-year deal. What the sounds of it?
Kaiser. I'm sure it's called Kaiser.
Can't even find it on Amazon unless it's
There's a TV show out now I want to watch. I want to try and watch it before the year's out. I don't know how I even link this to what you've just said, but it's about if Russia won the Cold War, and it's like one of those like Man in the High Tower kind of shows. I want to try and watch something along those lines, but that's like another docuseries that's doing the rounds at the minute.
It's on Prime.
interesting.
Kaiser.
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
Excellent.
Okay.
Well, the last question of this reality-based pod. I want to know who the greatest rise in reality TV has been, zero to hero, in terms of a nobody that's done the absolute best. And then, like in extras, what's the biggest fall from grace of a celebrity that has got into the reality TV sphere and has just hit absolute rock bottom? Stu, I feel like you'll know more about this, and I'll give Andy a time to have a good think on this one.
I mean, you could say that Jade Goody qualifies for both.
Yeah, you're right.
A complete moron who kind of got fame for being a moron, and then going back in later and ruining her whole legacy. I mean, from where she was to the meltdown that happened after she was... I don't even think she was racist. I think she was just stupid. I think because of no one from where she was, I don't think the whole Shilpa Shetty thing was as big a deal as it was made out to be in the end. But you couldn't, even back then, you couldn't say what she said. Even if it was just a slip of the tongue, I think she was just a bit thick. But from that moment on, she just ruined everything for herself by going on to be herself again. I don't think anything's come close to that. I know Nasty Nick, but he had his own TV spin-off from being a bastard in the first one, which was a very odd situation to be in. I think that probably the biggest one from nowhere, though, from who's kind of still around, apart from obviously Harry Styles and the One Direction guys and stuff like that, Rylan.
Yeah.
So Rylan was what? He was a failed contestant on X Factor and all that kind of, and the crying and all that kind of thing. So then just being around and then being Rylan. And now look at him, and he's everywhere. He's on this morning now. Amazing.
Done bad for himself. Alison Hammond has done incredibly well for herself as well. Obviously, she was on Big Brother in 2002. This Morning, Bake Off host, I'm a Celeb, Strictly Come Dancing. She's been on absolutely loads, and Celebrity Coach Trip, so she's done pretty well for herself as well. Is there any other names, Andy, that come to mind for you that like you think have done really well in the reality TV sphere?
I mean, like Cheryl Cole has ended up having an incredible career, really, for someone who, like, she was never the most talented in singing or dancing in the group, and she's ended up becoming like the face of that brand of reality TV. To the point that, like, even now they're about to go on another tour. Like, after how many years without any Girls Aloud stuff, they're coming back, and there's still some fervent support for them. So I think Cheryl Cole is probably she's probably the one for me. I think she's had the highest climb to the top of the mountain, and like she's had a few stumbles. Like, I know there was the stuff with the accusations of racism when she beat up a toilet attendant, and you know, like, it's not been plain sailing, but she's managed to get through it and come through like smelling the roses on the other side, especially after that failed relationship with Ashley Cole as well. She's done really, really well for herself, so I think she's probably the one for me, I think.
And not to mention being a bit of a pedo as well.
Yeah, that is funny how that wouldn't fly if it was anyone else.
They got brushed under the carpet very quickly, didn't it? But yeah, absolutely. Well, what about the other side, Stu? You mentioned Jade Goody. Is there anybody else that you like when, wasn't Keith Chegwin on
when he was naked?
Yeah, like he had like people like that. This is a pretty
Naked Jungle.
There's another show for you. We're all wrinkly worm. You're gonna be holding with that kind of show. But there have been some like pretty bad downfalls as well. And like I said, when I mentioned extras earlier, like Ricky Gervais, his character kind of goes down that route. Like, and it always makes me chuckle that Doctor Who is put in that wheelhouse of an actor on their downwards ascent from fame. I'll not appear in Doctor Who and then he plays some alien, which always makes me laugh. But are there any other kind of falls from grace that you remember, Stu?
Off the top of my head, there's people like, Barrymore was already kind of a divisive figure anyway, Warren. The fact that Barrymore and Jimmy Savile both on Celebrity Big Brother is incredible. There's been a lot of...
Jim Davidson, he's done it, hasn't
he? He did it, but it was all... people hated him anyway. People hated him when he went in. So I think he came across exactly as you'd expect Jim Davidson to come across. I don't think he did any damage to his reputation, really. I mean, he'd already done that to himself. I think you've got the other way where I think that Nella girl on the Celeb this year is probably... She was a YouTuber. That was her thing anyway. And acting like a complete cunt, lost her 200,000 subscribers, which she had 900,000 anyway. So that's not great. But I can't think of one that, other than what happened to Jade, where someone's gone from being right up there to just completely bottoming out. I mean, there's obviously going to be obvious ones that are, but that.
Andy, from your point of view, if you like, I want to put you in a scenario now. You were once a national treasure, and you are no longer in the limelight. Someone bolder and with a bigger beard has become the nation's sweetheart. Work's starting to dry up a little bit, and you're not getting the same six-figure deals you were getting before. I'm a Celeb comes a knocking. You've still got to put food on the table. Do you join the cast?
Oh, I mean, it can't be an easy choice, can it, for them when they get that phone call? It depends very much on what period of your career you're in. I think if you are at that point where your career's in the shitter, if you're Farage, I get why you do it. If you're on your way up, if you're someone like fucking Matt Hancock last year, as big of a prick as he is, I don't know why he does it. Like, Farage's career is on the downward slide, and he's desperate for any sort of attention that he gets. He always has been, to be fair to him. Whereas Matt Hancock is in a position where he's a politician and he's part of government, and I don't really understand why he does it. But someone, and I'm not going to call him a fucking national treasure because he's not. Farage is someone who is a figure who's adored the fucking limelight throughout his career. So I get why he does it. I would like to think I would have more morals than to sell my soul, but it very much depends on where you've been in your career. Yeah. If you're a Farage who is very much all about the publicity, I get it. If you're Stephen Fry, God forbid that his career goes on a downward spiral, I don't see Stephen Fry doing it because he's got a career worth holding up. And I think that's the thing. It depends on how you got to the summit of your career, personally. I think that's the balance for me.
And that's fair. I think that's very fair.
I think it's probably not for this part, but the whole Caroline Flack thing and what they did to her. I mean, that's the worst one, but that's not her fault. But it's also a literal downfall, which is quite sad and horrible.
Yeah, it was, to be fair. I think, like, that was so seismic. I think it had the opportunity to culturally change that landscape of that kind of TV show as well, because of her impact on it. And I don't think like people kind of quite realised it at the time. And then there was obviously absolutely so the public kind of like outcry of emotion about it and everything else. It was it was a strange one now. Thanks for completely ruining the tone, Stu. This was a fun podcast. No, we're joking. That is reality TV in a nutshell. If there are any kind of like genres of anything that you'd like us to cover in this format, then let us know on the socials at Cage Fighting Pod across the socials. Will get you to us. By the time this comes out, in a week's time, it will be Christmas. Speaking of which, actually, I signed up to a secret Can't Be Talked About Fight Club thing that I know Tara's on as well. That gives you like tickets to events that have not sold very well and stuff like that. and fucking Slade who are having seat fillers for the Birmingham Academy 2. Now, bear in mind, they've not got Noddy Holder there because he's on death's door, isn't he, I think? How sad is that?
That's a fall from grace, isn't it?
Yeah, I know. Like, but yeah, crap that really. But yeah, listen, Cage Fighting Pod on the subject. If there's anything that you'd like us to cover, we've had a couple of like interactions with fans that we didn't even know existed recently, which is really nice. And like Ed on the Fancast has been a listener of ours for some time, so we'll get him on to discuss some genres. But listen, one kind of note from me: this time of year, it's dark and miserable outside, and Christmas is like this huge pressure. Don't let it take over your lives. It's really not worth it. So just try and have some fun with your family and have a good time as best as possible. And we will be putting out, if times are absolutely that bad, you can always listen to our Christmas episode, which will be released on Christmas Day. It could be, what better way to peel your potatoes and boil your sprouts than to listen to us?
And then do the dinner.
And then do yeah, exactly. But from Stu, if you'd like to say goodbye to the people out there.
Goodbye, people out there.
Andy, if you would like to say goodbye.
Yeah, I'm trying to echo your sentiments, really, Matt. We're available on Twitter or whatever. Just say hello if you need us. Yeah, it's a shit time of year that isn't easy for a lot of people, so we'll always be there if you need it.
Yeah,
have a good one.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Cage Fighting Pod on the socials. Reach out to us should you need us. And remember, everybody, party on, dudes.